Members coming in, take the nearest seats. Take the nearest seats. Thank you. Honorable members, I've got two messages to convey to the House. The first one is on the referral by His Excellency the President of the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024, and bridging the fiscal deficit in the financial year 2024-25 budget. Honorable members, I wish to take this opportunity to welcome you back to the House after the just concluded short recess. You recall that the recess was preceded by illegal access and damage to the precincts of Parliament by unauthorized persons at the tail end of the consideration of the Finance Bill 2024. We have ventilated on this and other pertinent matters during the members' Kamukunji this morning, and I commend members for the bipartisan discussions. Having said that, I wish to report to the House that on 27th June 2024, I received a memorandum from His Excellency the President referring the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024 back to the House for reconsideration in accordance with the provisions of Article 115 of the Constitution. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. This is a little long. Take the nearest seats. Side poster. Honorable members, in the memorandum, His Excellency the President expressed reservations on the contents of the bill in its entirety and recommended the deletion of all clauses of the bill. In making the recommendations, the President noted the widespread expression of dissatisfaction by the public on the contents of the bill. Therefore, the proposed deletion of all the provisions of the bill will accord with its general rejection by the public. Honorable members, Standing Order 42.2 provides that if a passage if a message is received from the President at a time when the House is not in session, the Speaker shall forthwith cause the message to be transmitted to every member and report the message to the House on the day the House next sits. Consequently, in keeping with the provisions of Standing Order 42.2, on 27th June 2024, I notified all members of the message from the President and referred the memorandum from the President to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning for expeditious consideration. Honorable members, following the submission of the memorandum, my office received several inquiries from members of Parliament and the general public regarding the fate of the bill and the manner of bringing the fiscal deficit arising from its rejection. Various misleading opinions have also been advanced on the fate of the bill following its referral back to the House. Given the gravity and import of the matter, I issued an explainer with a view to creating clarity and understanding on both procedural and legal tenets relating to the referral. Honorable members, one of the primary concerns then was on whether the President can propose the deletion of all operative clauses in a bill or indeed the entire bill. From the onset, I wish to clarify that the President's memorandum recommending rejection of the entire bill, though significant, was neither exceptional in our legislative history nor new to this august House. Members may recall that on 2nd May 2024, I conveyed a message from the President relating to the referral of the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill, number 56 of 2022 back to the House for reconsideration. In the memorandum, the President expressed reservation on Clause 2 of the bill, which was the operative provision in the bill, and further recommended its deletion. This essentially constituted a rejection of the whole bill. Similarly, members at the bar, take the nearest seats. The nearest seats. Similarly, in the 11th and 12th Parliaments, the then President referred the Central Bank Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2014, and the Law of Contract Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2019, back to the National Assembly for reconsideration. In both instances, the recommendation from the President was the deletion of the operative clauses of the bills, which in essence constituted rejection of the said bills. Honorable members, a strict reading of Article 115 of the Constitution shows that no limitation is imposed on the nature of reservations or indeed the recommendations that the President ought to make on a bill. Indeed, this is also reflected in the practice in other comparative jurisdictions. For instance, in the U.S. Congress, the President, while referring a bill back to the House, may either choose to provide general recommendations based on the reservations, the bill, or propose the actual text to be added or deleted from the specified parts of the bill. Honorable members, concerns were also raised on whether the Finance Bill 2024, having been referred back to the National Assembly, would become law due to affliction of time on the basis of the provisions of Article 115 of the Constitution. For clarity, Article 115 of 6 of the Constitution states, and I quote, 115.6, if the President does not assent to a bill or refer it back within the period prescribed in Clause 1, the bill shall be taken to have been assented to the expiry of that period. For context, Article 115.1 of the Constitution provides that within 14 days after receipt of a bill, the President shall A, assent to the bill, B, refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration by Parliament, noting any reservations that the President has concerning the bill. A clear reading of these provisions reveals that the 14-day period applies the President's action regarding assent or refusal to assent to a bill. As soon as any of the actions contemplated under Article 115.1 is undertaken by the President within the timelines prescribed, the application of Article 115.6 ceases to apply. In this regard, I wish to reiterate that the Constitution ought not to be construed in a narrow or sophistic sense. The Constitution should be interpreted broadly and liberally in accordance with the guiding principles provided under Article 259(1) of the Constitution. Bearing this in mind, it becomes evident that the 14-day period specified in Article 115 is a timeline for the President's action and not a date when the bill automatically becomes law. Therefore, the concerns alluding to the possibility of the Finance Bill 2024 becoming law due to affliction of time were and still are unfounded and a miscomprehension of the provisions of the Constitution. This also explains why the House was not recalled from recess for special sittings. Honorable members, now that the regular sittings of the House have resumed, I wish to state that Standing Order 154.2 requires the House to consider the President's reservations within 21 days when the House next meets. Under normal circumstances, the House would have had 21 days from today within which to consider and dispense with the memorandum. However, noting that the memorandum had already been referred to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning for consideration on the 27th June 2024, I've been briefed that the committee is yet to conclude its consideration and shall table a report to the House on or before Tuesday, 30th July 2024, that is next week. Honorable members, permit me at this point to remind the House of the Speaker's communication of 28th July 2015 concerning the consideration of the President's reservations to a bill and amendments thereto. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. The nearest seats. Honorable members, permit me at this point to remind the House of the Speaker's communication on 28 July 2015 concerning the consideration of the President's reservations to a bill and amendments thereto. Take a seat, Honorable Member. As per the guidance, any member who wishes to move the House to reinstate any clause of the Finance Bill 2024 shall be required to marshal the support of at least 233 members of this House. This is in keeping with the provisions of Article 115(4) of the Constitution, which requires that such a proposal be supported by at least 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly. Conversely, agreement with the President's reservations and the recommendation to delete all the clauses of the bill shall only require the support of a simple majority of the members present and voting. This is in line with the provisions of Article 115(2)(a) of the Constitution, as read with Article 122(1) of the Constitution. Honorable members, when the memorandum will be scheduled by the House Business Committee for the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, the House will convert itself into a committee of the whole House for that purpose. Any amendments to be proposed to the bill will be proceeded with in the manner I have guided. Honorable members, having conveyed the message from the President, I now wish to address the various measures that need to be undertaken to bridge the fiscal deficit arising from the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024. On the Division of Revenue Act 2024, Article 218 of the Constitution requires Parliament to introduce the Division of Revenue Bill and the Counter Allocation of Revenue Bill at least 2 months before the end of each financial year. Division of Revenue Bill divides revenue raised by the national government among the national and county levels of government. On its part, the Counter Allocation of Revenue Bill divides the revenue allocated to the county level of government among the counties. As members will recall, His Excellency the President assented to the Division of Revenue Bill Act 2024 on 10th June 2024. The Act provides for the division of revenue raised nationally between the national government and the county governments for the financial year 2024-25. In particular, the Act provides that the total shareable revenue is Kenya shillings 2.9 trillion, out of which 2.5 trillion was allocated to the national government and 400 billion was allocated to county governments. The revenue apportioned by the Division of Revenue Act was based on projections of revenue intended to be raised by the national government in financial year 2024-25. As such, the amounts in the Division of Revenue Act 2024 may only be realized if the projected revenues are actually collected by the national government. Any shortfall in the projected revenue collection has a significant bearing on the shares apportioned between the two levels of government. Honorable members, it's estimated that the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024 will occasion a financial gap of approximately 346 billion. This gap shall significantly impact the amounts apportioned by the Division of Revenue Act, the revenue due to counties under the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024, and the monies appropriated to finance the budget for financial year 2024-25. On the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024, I am aware that on 10th July 2024, His Excellency the President did refer back the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024 to the Senate for reconsideration in light of the anticipated fiscal deficit. Article 219 of the Constitution obligates the national government to transfer the equitable share apportioned to counties in the Division of Revenue Act without reduction. To ensure that the national government does not default on its obligations, the Division of Revenue Act 2024 ought to be amended to reflect the revenue that the national government is capable of transferring to the counties in view of the current reality. Failure to amend the Division of Revenue Act 2024 shall result in the national government owing a financial obligation which it cannot clearly meet. In addition to the proposed reconsideration of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024 by the Senate, it's expected that the chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee shall introduce a bill to effect necessary amendments to the Division of Revenue Act 2024. On Supplementary Estimates 1, with regard to the monies already appropriated by the House to finance the budget for the year 2024-25, I wish to remind the House of the notification I issued on 12th July 2024, informing you of the submission of the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2024-25, which I referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the departmental committees for expedited consideration. The supplementary estimates seek to rationalize the financial year 2024-25 budget estimates to align with the revised fiscal framework and actualize expenditure cuts across the three arms of government, constitutional commissions, and independent offices. As guided in my notification on 12th July 2024, the Budget and Appropriations Committee is expected to table its report on the Supplementary Estimates 1 on or before tomorrow, Wednesday, 24th July 2024. The House shall thereafter consider the said estimates and the resultant legislation to give effect to the revised fiscal framework and the proposed expenditure reductions. The House is accordingly guided, and I thank you. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats before the next communication. Yes, Honorable Junet.
Speaker, I wish to comment on this matter.
You know, communication from the chair is never debated.
Mr. Speaker, it's true, but this is a very, very weighty matter, Mr. Speaker, the memorandum from the President on the finance bill.
Yes.
For the simple reason, Mr. Speaker, first, when you look at this memorandum, you'll realize that Kenyans have not yet come to understand very well on how Parliament operates. What stages that a bill goes through, the first reading, second reading, third reading, and also what happens when a bill is presented to the President for assent. So, Mr. Speaker, we used to have, as a friend of mine said that yesterday, a colleague of mine, we used to have open days in Parliament where people used to be taken through these processes of the bill making, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important decision that has been made on a very important bill in this country, Mr. Speaker. And you know very well, before we went on recess, how emotive and how controversial this bill was, Mr. Speaker. And there are people in the country, our voters, who believe that this bill is becoming a law, Mr. Speaker. They believe that this bill is going to be implemented. But, Mr. Speaker, and this is an unprecedented situation, because This is the first time since I came to this parliament 10 years ago that a bill, the president has deleted every clause of a bill, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure whether he has deleted even the title of the bill. We need to check that in the memorandum. But he has deleted every clause of the bill, Mr. Speaker. It's unprecedented. It has never happened. In the last 10 years, we used to have a memorandum that comes to the House where the president could have issues with one clause, 2 or 3 clauses. This is the first time that a whole bill has been deleted. What does that mean, Mr. Speaker? If you ask me as a legislature here, because you have to raise 2/3 numbers to undo what he has recommended, according to me, this bill is, what do they say, dead as a dodo, Mr. Speaker. They say dodo is an animal that used to live in Malaysia, which is instinct now. So the bill is instinct as we...
Malaysia, Madagascar.
Madagascar, you're right, Mr. Speaker, in Madagascar. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill, as we speak, is dead because I don't think we have the capacity to raise 2/3 in this House, and we don't intend to do, because of the whip, I will not provide the 2/3 from our side, to undo what the president has done. So, Mr. Speaker, it is very important to give clarity to our voters, to give clarity to Kenyans that this bill is dead. We only need to agree on a burial date where we are going to do the burial rites, and we bury it properly and we forget about it. In our area, it's called teruburu. We just do the teruburu and we finish with this thing, Mr. Speaker.
You've made your point. Okay. Give him the mic.
My last point is this, Mr. Speaker. In your communication also, other than the issues that came back from the presidency, is the issue of how to deal with the supplementary budget 1 and the county revenue allocation. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House again. Let us look at those things objectively. It is this House that can know where to cut that money from in the budget, Mr. Speaker. And I want to urge the budget committee to sit down and look with a tooth comb the budget that was passed and make sure that we remove excess baggage and excess fat from areas that Kenyans don't need money for. Let us not touch issues that are very important to Kenyans. That is the work of the budget committee. Let them stand up to the occasion, and the majority leader has been a budget chairman for 7 years. He knows, he can guide them. Let us not cut the money from where we think the Kenyans will feel paid. So, Speaker, with those few remarks, I agree the deletion, and will be presiding over the burial of that bill when it is brought here.
Honorable members, I'm not opening debate on this. The communication is not to elicit debate. But Junet is right. The mischievous and misleading comments about the fate of the bill upon rejection unfortunately came from some of our own members here. Members continued churning out fake news to the public about the fate of the bill, to the effect that within 14 days it was going to become law, which was false. One senior member even sent me a draft bill to repeal the finance bill that was not an act of law. And I politely reminded him that you cannot repeal an existing act. You cannot repeal a rejected bill. And this point comes home to all of us. The finance bill was the genesis, probably the catalyst of the events that we have witnessed in the country. Continuing to churn fake news about the finance bill is to compound the problem in the country. So I urge all of us to follow the procedure. Junet, you are right that it might be difficult for any member proposing to save a clause in the bill to raise 2/3 majority, knowing how this House operates. But under the Constitution and the standing orders, we must go through the entire rigmarole to make sure that the bill comes back to the House. You sit as a committee of the whole, you consider each clause. If there is nobody challenging the deletion by the president, you vote with a simple majority present and voting, meaning our quorum number being 50, half of that is 25. They can vote to 26, can vote to support the President's memorandum. Any one of you who wants to save any part of the bill, including the title, marshal 233 members when it comes so that you can vote to save it. Thank you. Yes, McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to, on behalf of the Finance Committee, to report that we've already met as a committee and done our report, and we are ready to table tomorrow morning, Mr. Speaker.
Excellent. Then we'll finish it even faster. Members on their feet, take your seats. I have another message to deliver. Bowen, stop greeting colleagues and take a seat. Honorable members, the second message from His Excellency the President is on nomination of persons for appointment to the offices of Cabinet Secretaries. Honorable members, Standing Order 42.1 relating to message from the President provides that the Speaker shall read to the House any message from the President delivered to the Speaker for communication to the House. In this regard, I wish to convey to the House that I have received a message from His Excellency the President notifying the nomination of various persons for appointment to the offices of Cabinet Secretaries. In the message, His Excellency the President conveys that in exercise of powers conferred on him by Articles 152(2) of the Constitution, as read together with Sections 3 and 5 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, he nominates various persons for appointment to the aforementioned offices. For clarity, Article 152(2) of the Constitution states, and I quote, "The President shall nominate and with approval of the National Assembly appoint Cabinet Secretaries." The names of persons submitted to this House for approval for appointment as Cabinet Secretaries are as follows. Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration. Dr. Deborah Mulongo Barasa, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health. Honorable Alice Wahome, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Lands, Public Works, Housing, and Urban Development. Dr. Julius Migos Ogamba, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education. Honorable Roslinda Soipan Tuya, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Defense. Dr. Andrew Mwihia Karanja, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Order. 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 On order. Honorable Rosalinda Soipan Tuya, AGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Defense. Dr. Andrew Mwihia Karanja, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Order, honorable members. Order. Order. Honorable Aden Bare Duale, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Order. Mr. Order, honorable members, order. 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 I shall not repeat. Order. Honorable Eric Murithi Muuga, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Mr. Davis Chirchir, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Roads and Transport. Dr. Margaret Nyambura Ndungu, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. In view of the foregoing and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8 of the Public Appointments, order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, in view of the foregoing and in pursuant the provisions of Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, as read together with the Standing Order 42.3, I hereby refer the message from the President together with the curriculum vitae of the nominees to the Committee on Appointments. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Can we listen to the communication? Honorable members, Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 provides that unless otherwise provided in law, the committee to which such nomination is referred shall consider the matter and table a report in the House within 28 days. It is therefore imperative that the Committee on Appointments immediately commences the process of consideration of the nominees. The Committee on Appointments is expected to immediately notify the nominees and the general public, commence the necessary approval hearings, and table its report in the House soonest to enable the House to consider the nominees within the stipulated timelines. I thank you. Next. No. Hakuna. Order. Yes, Junet, order. Order, honorable members. Junet, what is it?
Huh? Yeah. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
I'll come to you. Yes. Order, members. Yes, Junet.
Mr. Speaker, Kaluma. Mr. Speaker, they normally say in Parliament, what you communicate is what is communicated and that is what is final. But I'm not sure whether this list is the same one, Mr. Speaker. We cannot change your records in Parliament, but we are really in doubt whether this is the real one. But we shall wait. Mr. Speaker, having said that, Mr. Speaker, I want to speak on this matter and say this. Mr. Speaker, this time and this period in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell members, my colleagues, that vetting of this CSS is not going to be business as usual. This time, Mr. Speaker, and this time, Mr. Speaker, I repeat for the third time, if somebody is not suitable, if somebody is not capable, if somebody doesn't have the capacity, we are going to throw him out, Mr. Speaker. We must do justice to Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, and we must do our work properly this time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I participated in the vetting of the last CSS, Mr. Speaker. We know what people told us in that vetting, and we know there are people who have come back. If your records of net worth is not colluding or is not balancing, Mr. Speaker, just know we will throw you out of the window, not even the door. Mr. Speaker, the responsibility of making sure who is suitable and who meets the requirement of becoming a CS is vested in this House, Mr. Speaker, through the Parliamentary Approval Act.
Honorable Junet,
I'm finishing, Mr. Speaker.
You are a member of the vetting committee.
Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is this House that is going to make sure it is this house that is going to make sure, Mr. Speaker, Kenyans get value for their money. It is this house that is going to make sure, Mr. Speaker, if you know brothers and sisters who have been nominated, if you know you don't qualify, please leave early before you come to this house. This time we will put you in front of Kenyans bare, Mr. Speaker. Bare. Naked bare, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kenyans are tired. And Kenyans are saying that they don't mind anybody becoming a CS. They want to have CSS in offices, but they want to have the right people who are qualified, Mr. Speaker. And we are going to do our constitutional mandate, Mr. Speaker, to make sure, especially for those who are in offices before and who have been brought back, you will see what we are going to do to you people, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I am prepared for the Betty Committee tukutane na hiyo watu mundu kumundu. Mundu kumundu. Mundu kumundu.
Thank you. Yes, Kamket. Remember, honorable members, we don't debate communication such as this. Yes, Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while what you've read could be contradictory to what we heard the President announce, well, I would like you, Mr. Speaker, to confirm, indeed, that what you've read is actually what was communicated by the head of state. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I have heard the Honorable Junet threatening those cabinet nominees. The Honorable Junet, Mr. Speaker, while the bar must be raised high for anyone appointed to cabinet, Mr. Speaker, or any other public position, we do not also expect that we are going, or His Excellency the President is going to appoint angels into cabinet. So, in as much as Honorable Junet is here threatening those nominees, even him, Honorable Junet, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And therefore, he must not stand here and threaten the careers of other Kenyans as if he's a very clean man. Even him, we know him also, Mr.
Order. Order. There is no motion against him here. Yes, Sunguli.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the message that you have delivered, and I want to say that I'm sure that this time the list is very correct. And on behalf of the people of Narok, I want in advance to congratulate Honorable Soipan Tuya for coming back to a very important ministry.
Order, Sunguli. Order. Soipan is not a minister yet. She's only proposed. Kiborek. Order. Order. Let's hear Honorable Kiborek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to, Mr. Speaker, will it be in order for the House to revet those CSs who have been vetted by the same House previously? My second point, Mr. Speaker, is there is many rumors going around that there's a broad-based government, Mr. Speaker. Is there a possibility that Mbadi doesn't want to sit because maybe it will be something in the next coming days, Mr. Speaker? Maybe the arrogance has started getting to his head, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, or maybe the humility, because I know Mbadi is a very humble guy. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe Junet is an interested party, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Kiborek.
Mr. Speaker, I was asking, is it in order to revet those CSs who have been vetted before, Mr. Speaker? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, in the same House and the same Parliament to revet the CSs for the second time. And thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Kiborek. Under the Constitution and the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, everybody, whether they were in the dismissed cabinet or not, once reappointed must be vetted by this House. In fact, the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act says the persons to be vetted include those appointed and reappointed. That is the law. So those who have been reappointed, of course, I've read in some public fora whether persons who have been reappointed after dismissal qualify to be so reappointed. Again, the answer is in the affirmative. Unless you have been dismissed for breaching Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Unless you have been dismissed for violating the Constitution and being unaccountable in the management of public resources. The dismissal assigned no reasons for the dismissal, and therefore they are eligible for reappointment, and under the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, you will vet them and vote on their reappointment. Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Last time you nearly assaulted me on the chair because I didn't give you time to speak.
Thank you today
I hope
for
now it mitigates everything.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, what we are discussing is so important because it is actually the crux of the matter of what is happening in the country today. The ministers, the cabinet secretaries were dismissed from public pressure because due to public pressure, apparently, clearly, the public, going by what was happening, had actually lost confidence in the government. And when they invaded parliament, this was a loss of confidence on parliament and its credibility. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the process that is now reversing that must start in the most transparent way, without doubt, absolutely. Mr. Speaker, what the President announced is definitely different from what you have read to us. Mr. Speaker, at that point alone, the public will not really have confidence in what we are doing, unless probably the President came and first of all made the changes. He has the ability to do that. But what the public knows of the people we are going to vet is actually what he announced. Now, what we are going to vet now is totally different. Mr. Speaker, what the people believe, whether they are right or wrong, is important. People act from their belief. And when they were running and attacking the National Assembly, it is arising from their deep belief that we do not represent their interest, we are not credible to them. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I find, and you really need to clarify this, why the list you have read to us is different from what the President read. We are starting from a very weak point on that basis alone, Mr. Speaker. We really need to preserve this country, and particularly this House. The challenges are going to be bigger. Leave alone the issue that you dismiss people and then you bring them back. The question is, why did you dismiss them in the first place? But leaving that aside, Mr. Speaker, that credibility is required. We should have the same list, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dr. Nyikal, as a House of Parliament, we are a House of record. And the record we have is a communication from the Executive Office of the President. And it must be in writing and signed by the President. And it is right here. That is the President's signature, you can see. And that is the communication letter from the Head of Public Service. The President, like anybody else, has the right to change his mind on what he has decided. What is important is the record that comes to this House. And the record that has arrived in this house is what I have read to you. Remember that nobody will become minister, one, until and unless the president has written to Parliament, two, until Parliament has sat in committee and vetted, and three, until the whole House has voted on the report of the vetting committee. That is what is important, Honorable Nyikal. We have had cases before where members were pronounced on media as having been appointed as ambassadors, and we have received communication that shows that they have been transposed from one station to another, and we have vetted them without question. In any case, the proposed names that I've read to you are not ministers until you pass in this house. So there's nothing inconsistent. Yes, Kaluma?
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm not fortunate to sit in the committee on appointments. But Honorable Speaker, let me tell the members of that committee something the High Court said a short while back as they go into that critical process before I make my last comment.
They includes yours truly here. I'm
Yes,
the chair of that committee.
You are the chair.
Yes.
You are the chair. And I'm your loyal assistant, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the year 2018, this is what the High Court said regarding public appointments under the new constitution. And I quote, Honorable Speaker, that August 27, 2010 ushered in a new regime of appointments to public office, whereas the past was characterized by open corruption, tribalism, nepotism, favoritism, scrapping the barrow, and political patronage. The new dispensation requires a break from the past. The Constitution, Honorable Speaker, the Constitution signifies the end of jobs for the boys era. Article 10 sets out the values that must be infused in every decision-making process. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this is a critical reminder to us because we are at a point in time when the nation is looking unto this House to provide the leadership it needs. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that last week, even as the ODM party, independent parties of Azimio also, we sat and said that the government of Kenya belongs to all of us. And Honorable Speaker, we met as ODM and we resolved it. I'm saying this because I don't want some confusion I've seen circulating. Somebody writing saying if members of the ODM party are appointed to government, they are going on their own. We met and resolved so. And Honorable Speaker, don't say no. When the ODM party speaks, even as Azimio has spoken, Honorable Speaker, there is a tendency coming up in this country. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker,
Go on.
Honorable Speaker, let me explain to these people the law. Let me explain to these people the law. I will speak.
Order. Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Order. Honorable members. Honorable Jalas.
Yes. Yeah, we want to speak.
This is not a baraza in Langata. This is a House of Parliament. Go on.
Honorable, let me address, Honorable Speaker, what is in Article 232 of the Constitution. It says the public service will have the face of Kenya. All ethnic communities will be there. Persons of the gender quotas prescribed under Article 27 will be there. Honorable Speaker, as a person from an ethnic community, I will not agree to a position where people say everybody is in the government of Kenya except Luos. Yet Luos also pay taxes. Honorable Speaker, I therefore want to congratulate the President for the appointment, but request the President that within the week, as soon as tomorrow, we want to see those other appointments Baba was to forward to him. And we want all of them approved. And Honorable Speaker, if that can happen, then we are going to push this thing very fast. We cannot leave anybody out. And Honorable Speaker, let me send a warning. We want to tell people sending conflicting positions from the ODM to remember that they are on an interim position in those positions. We can remove them if we resolve a position and then they contradict it. This one has to happen for the good of the nation, and we are telling the government we are ready to serve to secure that Kenya moves properly. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Next order. Next order. Next order. Order, honorable members. Order. 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 That order of messages is over. Order. Honorable Wino, take your seat. Order, honorable members. We'll now go back to order number 2, where I have a communication. The messages are over. The message on finance bill and appointments is over. Honorable members, I have a communication. Order. Order, Honorable Were. Order. This is a communication on allegations of bribery of members of parliament in the discharge of parliamentary duties. Order. I don't want any assistance. Just do the listening, let me do the talking. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that my office is in receipt of correspondences dated 24th and 25th June 2024 from various members of parliament regarding allegations of bribery of members of parliament during the voting on the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024. The House, the honorable members include the Honorable Joseph Munyoro MP, the Honorable Joseph Kosgei Elmengit MP, the Honorable Jane Kagiri MP, the Honorable Kanyuitha Mutunga PhD MP, and the Honorable Didymus Wekesa Barasa MP. The Honorable Didymus Barasa MP also raised the matter on the floor of the House on Wednesday, 25th June 2024. In their complaint, the members allege that on Sunday, 23rd June 2024, the member for Juja, the Honorable George Koimburi, MP, was quoted across various media outlets claiming that members of this House who voted in support of the second reading of the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024, were bribed with 2 million shillings each to do so. The affected honorable members sought my guidance on how to address this matter. In their estimation, the assertions attributed to the Honorable Koimburi, if left unsubstantiated, continue to bring shame and odium to members of parliament and paint the entire House in bad light. Honorable members, you recall when the matter was raised on the floor of the House, I did undertake to give a considered ruling at the next sitting of the House, which is today. In a related development, I wish to inform the House that I have also received a letter dated 22nd July 2024 from the Honorable Koimburi, titled Apology Letter. The letter indicates as follows, I quote, I, George Koimburi Ndungu, of ID number, elected member of Parliament for Juja constituency, would like to tender my apology to the House leadership and my colleague members of Parliament. I understand we are living on a very dynamic and sensitive times, and my utterances in the past may have caused some problems in the country. I'm remorseful and humbly seeking for forgiveness. As an ambassador of peace, I pray that peace do prevail in our country. God bless Kenya. Order. Today, honorable members, at the rise of the House Business Committee at 1:45 p.m., I did call the Honorable Koimburi to ascertain his authorship of the letter. The Honorable Koimburi did confirm authorship of the letter and further denied any claims that he had disowned the letter and its contents. The Honorable Member further indicated that he is currently away in Mombasa and unavailable to attend the sitting of the House until Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Honorable members, any allegation of corrupt practice, bribery, or attempted bribery is sustained on the privilege of the institution of Parliament and deserves expeditious investigations and resolution. The practice and precedents applicable of the House require that any issue touching on the privilege of the House should be dispensed with as a matter of priority. I fully appreciate the pain and discomfort that the pendence of Honorable Koimburi's allegations continues to cause the affected members. However, I've reluctantly allowed the Honorable Koimburi to avail himself to the House by 2:45 p.m. on Tuesday, 30th July 2024 to explain his actions with regard to the complaint raised by the affected members and the context of his apology letter in the manner contemplated by the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act 2017 and the standing orders. Thereafter, I shall guide the House on any subsequent actions to be taken in the matter. That is accordingly guided. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for that communication. Honorable Speaker, we are well guided as to your directions on Honorable Koimburi. But Honorable Speaker, I'm a bit concerned because last evening a gentleman from his office, who I'm told is his constituency office manager, delivered a copy of that letter, and the letter indeed you're alluding to, you will see, is also copied to the offices of the Leader of Minority and the Office of the Leader of Majority. Honorable Speaker, I was able to check after the House Business Committee this afternoon, when you raised the matter before the House Business Committee, that indeed the Honorable Koimburi's PA, when he delivered the letter to my office, the copy that was stamped in my office had only one stamp. But the PA had another copy which was stamped twice, because at one instant the rubber stamp was upside down, and therefore it was stamped twice. And members will note, and Kenyans will note, that that is a letter that was circulating on social media, because I had to take great offense with my staff when I suspected they had circulated a letter on social media before I even saw it myself, because I was seeing it when I was already home after 8 p.m. But, Honorable Speaker, what worries me is that immediately that letter circulated on social media, the Honorable George Koimburi, on his own Facebook page, stamped it fake and said it was a fake letter. Honorable Speaker, it is the same letter that you are now alluding to, and you assert that you have spoken to the Honorable George Koimburi, and he confirmed it was his letter. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, even as the Honorable George Koimburi comes to shed light on what he said on the matters that were complained to, I think his behavior last evening, today, and the days before that, Honorable Speaker, brings into disrepute not just his image as an honorable member of Parliament, but also the integrity of the office he holds, Honorable Speaker. And maybe we will wait to hear from him, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the House, the kind of member we are dealing with, so that even as he comes on Tuesday, he can also clarify as to whether these letters were fake, or he tells you it's fake. He says on social media it's fake. He tells you he's the author of the letter. we don't know which George Koimburi to believe, the one on social media, the one in churches, or the one who will be here. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we will wait for him, but I honestly do not know who the member for Juja now is. He has too many faces to be able to tell who the member is, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Amawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance. Mr. Speaker, I want to support whatever the leader of majority has said. And Mr. Speaker, when you look at the letter that was circulating in the social media, together with whatever you have read, Mr. Speaker, it does not even detail the reason as to why he's giving an apology. So, Mr. Speaker, later on, Honorable Koimburi may say that he was not giving an apology on the level of the issue of the 2 million. So, Mr. Speaker, that letter is a bit ambiguous on the state as to why he's giving an apology. Mr. Speaker, we want to have, if at all we are to agree, a letter that is talking of an apology over an allegation that the members were given 2 million. But that one is vague and a bit ambiguous. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of traditions. And that's why this house is called August House. Mr. Speaker, this member has made a number of unsubstantiated allegations against individual members of parliament, against the 13th parliament, and against everybody. As much as that apology, on the face of it, as a human being, I may be tempted to accept. But Mr. Speaker, because this thing has been so much circulated and it's all over, I want to beseech you to refer this issue to the Powers and Privilege Committee so that that document is properly subjected to justice. Justice means I want to go and appear as a witness and say the pain and the agony that I went through as a member who has been included in that particular bracket. So, Mr. Speaker, taking into account that this member has been flip-flopping also, I'm sure next time he will say he did not speak to the Speaker. And we do not want the integrity of the Speaker to be put on question. So I want to agree with the majority leader. For us to be fair, for us to be contented, for us to be satisfied, we beseech you to refer this to the Powers and Privileges Committee, and it will not only deal with this issue, it will also deal with any other member, any other will-be member who will be casting aspersion on the integrity of this house as a house and also individual members. So, Mr. Speaker, I beseech you. This will also give us an opportunity to amend if there are issues that we need to amend in the current standing orders or in the powers and privilege so that this house remains a respected house in line with the letter and spirit of the current constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I believe strongly that the Honorable Koimburi was in his normal senses when he stood on the pulpit of our church and made the allegation. Honorable Speaker, the follow-up activities do not in any way indicate that Honorable Koimburi was remorseful. I believe it is because your office contacted Honorable Koimburi that he has even written the vague apology letter. Honorable Speaker.
That is not true, Mutunga.
Honorable Speaker.
My office spoke to Koimburi this afternoon after issues were raised in the Kamkunji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the correction. But let me adjudicate my point. Honorable Speaker, this letter has cost us a lot of pain and a lot of expenses. Wherever we go, Honorable Speaker, we are required, first of all, to deliver the 2 million before you can start doing anything. We are in a situation where members of parliament are branded in this country, and the circumstances under which this allegation was made were very, very severe. Honorable Speaker, we are in a situation where we need to redeem our image and the Honorable Koiburi only put fuel on a burning fire. Honorable Speaker, I think we do not need Honorable Koiburi to come and give us stories here. I know, Honorable Speaker, you have the discretion, but the House, the committee should be given the responsibility that we may be able to go and tell Honorable Koiburi what we have gone through so that he may be able to suffer a bit, because he has subjected us to a lot of suffering. Many people have lost their property because of such allegations, Honorable Speaker.
Mama Nairobi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Honorable Speaker, out there in the public, everybody thinks that Parliament has been under state capture. And when you have a member of Parliament that goes out there and says that he was paid 2 million shillings to vote yes, and he declined, it means that parliamentarians are not able to make decisions on their own. It takes me back to 2023. I made a decision to support the finance bill. In the social media, everybody said I had visited State House and I had gotten a package. I never visited State House. I have never met the president on a one-to-one. I have only met him in public functions. I think that when an honorable member makes such a statement, he should be put to strict proof. As a lawyer, I'm sure you understand that. If he cannot actually substantiate whatever statement he made in public, and we forgive him without him actually withdrawing and apologizing and saying he lied, then what it means is that we are coercing him to actually withdraw. We don't want him to withdraw. He said he was offered 2 million. Let him prove to us who offered him 2 million. If he lied about it, then he should be punished, because whatever he said out there implicates every member of Parliament. When I make decisions here, I make decisions based on my own reasoning, my own objectivity. Sometimes I've even gone against my own party. That means I'm not able, if I'm in Parliament as an opposition leader or government, I am not able to lose my objectivity as a citizen. And I think it is important that all of us in Parliament stand and affirm whatever it is that we say out there in public. And I really would feel ashamed if he was just forgiven and he came back, because whatever he said there makes it very difficult for us as parliamentarians to actually stand and say we are not bribed. We actually oversight this country's various institutions. What people are seeing right now is abject corruption that is not actually being dealt with. And this corruption is not because the parliamentary oversight committees are not doing their job. It is because the reports that we make as Parliament are not moving forward. And I think it is important for us as Parliament to look at all the reports that we have made over the years that actually call for the prosecution of various members of public entities and the entities that have failed to actually address the corruption that we have oversight. So for me, I really pray and hope that we shall actually make sure that this member of Parliament is put to strict proof on the 2 million shillings that he got. He really, unless he's suffering from amnesia, if he never got an offer for 2 million and he just went out there and made an allegation that implicates all members of Parliament, then he should be punished.
Wamumbi. You are the last one. Wamumbi is the last one. Give the mic to Wamumbi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, we have heard you loud and clear. Mr. Speaker, we are requesting you. We don't want Koibori to come and give an explanation. We heard what he said. Mr. Speaker, for these members to redeem their image and their dignity, Koibori must be punished, Mr. Speaker. For this House to continue, Mr. Speaker, Koibori must be punished, Mr. Speaker, because these members need to redeem their dignity. And those members who also voted no, they also need to tell us whether they were paid to vote no. We voted yes on our own volition, Mr. Speaker. So for this House to continue, for these members to redeem their dignity, Koibori must be punished. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. I did say that I shall guide the House on any subsequent actions to be taken on this matter. Next order. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader. Yes.
The mic, yeah.
Naomi.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. 1. Supplementary estimates, 1 for the year 2024-2025 from the National Treasury and Economic Planning and the following accompanying documents. A. Program-based budget. B. Recurrent estimate. C. Development estimate, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And D. Statement on financial year 2024-2025, supplementary estimate number 1. 2. Legal notice number 105 of 2024 relating to the income tax, charitable organization, and donation exemption. Rules 2024, including explanatory memorandum and evidence of public participation from the National Treasury. Number 3, legal notice number 109 of 2024 relating to the road maintenance levy fund, imposition of levy. Order 2024, including explanatory memorandum and reports of the public participation from the Ministry of Roads and Transport. Number 4, report of the NG-CDF Board on project proposals, approved disbursement status, and restrictions imposed on constituency account the third quarter of 2023-2024 financial year. Number 5, price stability target and economic policy of the government for the financial year 2024-2025, budget from the National Treasury. Number 6, the June 2024 special audit report of the Auditor General on debt servicing of external loans in Kenya. And number 7, the June 2024 special audit report of the Auditor General on the implementation of the Global Fund program in Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to lay.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable McClub. Who is the member talking to Honorable McClub? Take your seats. The House is in session. Honorable Babu Wino, take your seats. Those who are walking out for their coffee or conversations, do so without disrupting the proceedings of the House. Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Is Honorable Ndindi Nyoro here? Yes, Mary Mase, are you ready with your report on supplementary estimates? You can do it later. Get in touch with your chair. Next, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 23rd July 2024. That is the report on the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on its inspection visit to the new Kenya Planters Cooperative Union or new KPCU warehouses in Nairobi, Sagana and Meru. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Next, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Member for cases.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 23rd July 2024. Report of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its consideration of the President's Memorandum on the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024. Thank you. I beg to lay.
Order number 6. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Emase, we wait for your chairman. You will be given an opportunity to table and give notice of motion. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to give notice of motion. I beg to give notice of motion of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on its inspection visit to the new Kenya Planters Cooperative Union or new KPCU warehouses in Nairobi, Sagana and Meru, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 23rd July 2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8, motion. Public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Resumption of debate.
Honorable members, we are now at order. Order, members. We are now at order number 8, public petition on funds spent, conduct provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Order, my record shows that Honorable Nimrod Mbai moved the motion. Honorable Janet Sitiene seconded the motion. The question was proposed, and then there was a member who claimed there was no quorum. So we now open to debate. My screen has nobody wanting to speak to this. Mover, Nimrod. Where's Nimrod? Janet Sitiene. You are the seconder. Who is... Yes, Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just wanted to indulge on this matter, because this matter of 223, expenditure against 223, is actually a matter of national interest. And I think that's why the petitioner had petitioned Parliament so that the matter is discussed and debated. Now that, from what you're saying, Honorable Speaker, it was only moved and seconded, I don't know whether it will be procedural, because I'm sure members may not have had time to look at the recommendations. I don't know that it will be procedural, either you push it, you divide a bit so that we have time to look at it, or we can get a recap of the issues and then we can debate it, Honorable Speaker. Because it's a very important matter, and I think we'll be losing a very big chance as Parliament if we don't discuss this matter. And if that is not possible, Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, because it's a matter of really a lot of information on, I could also just make some general remarks.
as a member of the Budget Committee, as a member also of the Public and Privatization Committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You're moving that we adjourn the debate on this motion?
Yeah, I would be proposing, Honorable Speaker, that we adjourn the debate to another day.
Don't propose, just move that we adjourn.
Yeah, I move that, Honorable Speaker, we adjourn the debate to another day so that we allow members to look at the report and then we can debate from an informed position.
Do you have a seconder? You are seconded? Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8. The debate on the motion on public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution be adjourned to the next available opportunity. As members of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order. Yes, Majority Leader.
Speaker, beg for indulgence because I know members having come from the recess, and this is part of the business that came towards the end of the last session. Honorable Speaker, just to appraise members, and because a copy of this report by the committee, and you remember, Honorable Speaker, many members have stood in their place in the House and raised concerns on the performance of the petitions committee on how quickly they process petitions. Honorable Speaker, this being one very important report, I want to agree with Honorable Makali Mulu, because these are payments that were made out of Article 223 of the Constitution. An issue, as Honorable Makali Mulu says, that has bedeviled all parliaments, right from the 11th Parliament, Honorable Speaker, and this House has spoken at length on abuse of Article 223. So I really want to beg members to get a copy of this report and interact with it, because this relates to the payments that were made in the dying hours of the last regime. The telecom haste, the 6 billion telecom haste, Honorable Speaker, and many other payments that were made in the run-up to the last elections are issues that were being addressed by this report. And I really want to beg members to interact with this report so that when this matter comes up for debate again, we can be able to debate with the full knowledge of what the committee found through the interactions with all the stakeholders that they didn't interact with. And also of note, Honorable Speaker, is for chairs of committees. I can see this matter touches on the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Interior National Administration. It touches also on the National Treasury, and it will therefore be important for chairs of committees, their vice chairs, and also members who sit in these particular departmental committees to interact with this report before, Honorable Speaker, we make a decision on how to, whether or not to adopt the committee's report, Honorable Speaker. And I wish to thank Honorable Makali Mulu for moving that motion of adjournment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order number 9, reports of the Auditor General on the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 9 constituencies in the Bungoma County.
Chairperson, Decentralized Funds Accounts Committees. Is that the committee of Mulyungi? Obiri, are you the...
I'm moving on his behalf.
You are the vice chair or a member of the committee?
I'm a member of the committee.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the chairman of the Decentralized Committee, I beg to move that this House adopts the 3rd report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its examination of the audited financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Fund for the 9 constituencies in Bungoma County for the financial year 2013, 2014, 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016, laid on the floor of the House on Thursday, the 7th of March of 2024. Honorable Speaker, the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee is established pursuant to Standing Order 205B and is responsible for the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the accounts of the NG-CDF, NG-CDF Board, and National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and the NG-CDF Board. Honorable Speaker, the committee examined a total of 27 reports of the Auditor General for Sirisia, Kabuchai, Tongaren, Bumula, Kandui, Webuye East, Webuye West, Kimilili, and Mount Elgon constituencies for the financial year 2013-2014, 2015-2016. The specific observations, findings, and recommendations to the audit queries are contained in the report, the committee report. Honorable Speaker, the committee, upon examination of the Auditor General's report for the 9 constituencies, made general observations and recommendations as follows. There are outstanding land issues in the constituencies examined related to transfer, succession, and acquisition of the title deeds for all the land purchased in the review period. The committee recommends, amongst others, that the NG-CDF Board should, within 3 months of the adoption of this report, provide guidelines to project management committees on how to deal with purchase of land that is under succession and the land for which transfers are pending. Further, that the board adopts a policy on the procedure of buying land, while at the same time ensuring that NG-CDF committee adhere to the provisions of the NG-CDF Regulations 2016 on purchase of land or buildings. Mr. Speaker, reallocation and use of emergency funds. Some of the projects funded using emergency funds did not meet the threshold set out in Section 62, 6 in brackets 2, and Section 8 of the NG-CDF Act. The committee therefore recommends that the NG-CDF Board should ensure that the fund accounts managers comply with provisions of the Act on the use of emergency funds. Pending ongoing projects were common in the constituencies examined owing to the partial allocation of funds for projects. The committee therefore recommends that the NG-CDF Board should, with immediate effect, discourage the partial allocation of funds to projects and ensure that the projects are completed at most within 2 financial years. Further, that the NG-CDF Board should develop a realistic policy framework for costing projects for each constituency, which is informed by the cost of materials, transportation, taxes, topography of each constituency, and reports from the relevant government departments. There are inadequate cooperation between the internal auditors, the Office of the Auditor General, and the NG-CDF Board, leading to delays in providing documents that were subject to examination by the Auditor General for verification at the time of the audit, while some fund account managers were ill-prepared during their appearance before the committee. The committee recommends that the NG-CDF Board should strengthen the link between the board, the Office of the Auditor General, and the funds managers, particularly regarding the timely response to audit queries. Further, the NG-CDF Board should also improve on the post-audit correction of irregularities cited in the Auditor General's report, as well as ensure that there is a structured handover process between fund account managers when their term of service comes to an end. The committee recommends that the NG-CDF Board should ensure that constituency committees employ qualified accountants for their constituency offices beginning from the financial year 2023-2024, within the 6% administrative allocation allocated to NG-CDF. The committee also recommends for the continuous capacity building of fund account managers on financial reporting standards, record keeping, and procurement laws and regulations. The Honorable Speaker, I wish to move and request Honorable Ngeleche to second this report. Thank you.
The Honorable Julius Mawade. The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo. Who is seconding? The Honorable Ngeleche is seconding.
Yes.
The MP for Elgeyo Marakwet. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to second the motion that this House adopts the third report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituency Development Fund, that is NG-CDF, for 9 constituencies in Bungoma County. Honorable Speaker, since the establishment of the fund through the enactment of the Constitution's Development Fund, CDF, in 2003, we can all attest that the fund has significantly impact on people's lives in the constituencies through infrastructure development, funding in education, and other projects which it has funded. The amended Act, National Government Constituency Development Fund, Act 2015, has since undergone further amendments to align it to the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the issue of delay in disbursement of funds from the Exchequer continues to affect project implementation, leading to audit queries in all the constituencies examined. This is a matter that can only be addressed through timely and adequate disbursement of funds to the NG-CDF board by the Treasury for immediate release to the constituencies. This will ensure that planned projects are implemented promptly for the benefit of the people. Honorable Speaker, while we laud the good work the NG-CDF has done, the committee in its report observed that there were cases where project management committees implemented projects, yet the parcels of land did not have title deeds, Mr. Speaker. The committee recommended that the NG-CDF board, in conjunction with NG-CDFCs, should ensure that title deeds are obtained from for the affected projects within 3 months of the adoption of this report, and that fund accounts managers should ensure that the PMCs purchase land in the area where there is clear ownership documents, especially in the areas where land adjudication has been done. Mr. Speaker, a matter that a committee continues to engage with the examining constituencies audit accounts in the case where fund managers fail to avail documents to the auditors during the audit window. This has led to audit queries being raised on matters which would have been ordinarily addressed had the documents been availed during the audit period. The committee recommends that the NG-CDF board should ensure that fund accounts managers comply with the provision of the section 62, 1B and C of the Public Audit Act, number 34 of 2015, requiring accounting officers to provide the information within a reasonable time that is required under this Act. Mr. Speaker, the NG-CDF continues to support development in the constituencies, and we should all support measures aimed at strengthening the management of the fund. Implementation of the committee recommendation as contained in this report will therefore go a long way in enhancing the management of this critical fund. Honorable Speaker, with these few remarks, I support. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question. This House adopts the report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 9 constituencies in Bungoma County for financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016. It was laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th March 2024. Honorable Julius Mawathe wants to speak to this now. The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on the motion that has been presented here. I don't come from Bungoma County, so I will also make just general remarks concerning the general observations that have been laid beyond the table as moved by the committee. Number one, Honorable Speaker, I need to be very clear to the people of Kenya that members of parliament are not the accounting officers of NG-CDF. Members of parliament have no role to play at all in the implementation of the projects. Their role begins and ends at public participation and probably just general oversight, and to ensure that the funds allocated for that particular constituency are utilized as per the law and as per the PFM Act. Honorable Speaker, therefore, if there is any impropriety, if there is any audit queries, they must be directed to the rightful persons and not event the anger of members of parliament. Honorable Speaker, in the past few weeks, in respect of this demonstrations, many members here have been cited for all the malpractices that have been highlighted in the audit reports in respect of the members, in respect of those constituencies. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the committee, especially the one on CDF, to make the following recommendations and strongly pass over to the NG-CDF board so that we are able to strengthen and make sure things run properly. Number one, Honorable Speaker, all accounting officers are obligated by the Audit Act and the Constitution to provide audit documents. Where the audit documents are not provided, Honorable Speaker, is the responsibility of the board to take necessary sanctions against those funds accounts officers who failed to produce those documents. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the accounting officers, that's the firm, are also obligated to make sure the proper books of account are maintained at all times. Honorable Speaker, things like bank reconciliation becoming an audit query is an indictment of the level or the quality or the capacity of these accounting officers. So, Honorable Speaker, one of the recommendations, therefore, another recommendation that needs to pass very clearly, there must be capacity building. They should not just pick anybody to become a fund accounts manager who does not have the capacity, cannot even maintain a books of account. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, there is always many challenges at the time of transition, from one committee to another, and from one accounting officer to another. And that particular moment, there are so many gaps that are normally found in the respective files. I have also witnessed in my constituents, Honorable Speaker, it's therefore important that there must be a mechanism put in place at the board to ensure the handover is seamless and all the documents are handed over. And if the outgoing fund manager still remains in service, that fund account manager should be held liable and must be obligated to provide all the information that's required. Nevertheless, Honorable Speaker, we also want those Office of the Auditor General to understand the unique circumstances, the unique nature of NG-CDF. Honorable Speaker, some of the requirements, be it in procurement or tendering, might not be achievable depending on where the particular project is being undertaken. I'm sure, Honorable Speaker, if you went to the remotest part of this country, for example, Mandera, whatever side or Wajir, to get probably all the contractors who have got all the requirements is going to be a tall order. If we do not look at it sympathetically, look at it in a more robust manner, then we are going to condemn all the projects in this country. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, whatever happens, NG-CDF remains the only engine of development that can be noticed all over wherever we go. I want to urge my colleagues, NG-CDF belongs to the people of the constituency, do not belong to members of parliament. Members of parliament should avoid personalizing NG-CDF projects. You don't have to fix your photo on a school bus you are bought for a school. You do not need to fix your photo on the posters or the signboards that we normally are required for purposes of as required on the board. Honorable Speaker, we must as a people guard, because the recipients of CDF have no problem with the CDF. It's only the lazy bodies, the busy bodies all over the country who think that NG-CDF is a license for an MP to be re-elected. NG-CDF is a poisoned chalice that is normally can either send an MP home or can retain an MP. It's not an automatic passage to the next point. But I want to urge my colleagues that wherever we are, let's talk about NG-CDF, because that's what can be seen all over. All those other projects cannot even be seen. Honorable Speaker, the other day, I saw in a report somewhere, there's a certain constituency where the school infrastructure is dilapidated, and the only thing you can see are those ones done by NG-CDF. The county has never built an ECD block. The county has never done anything. So we must not bastardize. We must always strengthen NG-CDF. And want to ask our colleagues in the Senate, if they have nothing important to do, if there are nothing important to debate in their chamber, let not waste their time talking about NG-CDF. We don't talk about their Senate Oversight Fund, which they only use to probably to eat mandazis and keep girlfriends and mistresses in their offices. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the report.
Thank you. Member for Oraka.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for recognizing my presence in the House. I would have passed it, but I cannot pass an opportunity such as this to contribute to issues concerning my people. Mr. Speaker, this is very interesting. Mr. Speaker, sir, you see in Ruaraka, there are several efforts to be able to resolve the issues of interest to my electorate. One of them is intervention of the devolution. The other is the direct intervention of national government. We have seen all this over the years, but until the solution of Constituency Development Fund came, there has been no other attempt at reaching the basic needs of the people as has been with the disbursements of CDF, especially in issues of education and security. I'm aware that there is a tussle, but this tussle is elitist, sponsored by those who think that all the funds should go to devolution. If you think like that, then there would be no reason for division of revenue. When you think about it, Mr. Speaker, once there is division of revenue, which is in the Constitution, the revenue which remains to the national government has authority and has the leeway to be able to spend it in the best manner in which it can impact on the people. So this money called the Constituency Development Fund does not come at all from the devolved funds. Professor Undo here would assist me. It does not come at all from the devolved funds. There is division of revenue. Whether I like it or not, at some point we would have to divide revenue, and at some point, whether it is in for 35%, 45%, 50%, or even 70%, some money will have to go to the national revenue and devolve. So we are just talking about the national. So to that extent, when I hear a lot of resistance, especially from the Council of Governors, resisting that devolution would mean more money to them, I think they have just lost concept of the constitutional order in which money is divided. Mr. Speaker, together with the action of this House in looking afresh at the CDF Act and aligning it with the provision of the court rulings, and especially on the Constitution, the Member of Parliament has no chance except mobilizing his people during public participation, and has been said by Professor Oundo. What I want to say, this country must, choose to develop. If they choose to develop, then they must allow those who are able to mobilize communities to be able to ignite enough funds that would stimulate growth at the constituency level. Now, some of us, we earn our salaries, and my salary is enough to pay for the services. As I stand before you here, my salary has been paid. I have no appetite, I have no interest in putting my fingers in monies which I don't have legislation authority over. In fact, one would say that now I don't have money to spend on funerals, on weddings. Maybe at some point I will urge the House to allocate, if at all the economy recovers, so that I can have money to pay for funerals and weddings. But as of now, my legislative duties, my representation duties, my oversight duties are well paid by my salary. So this misnomer that governors think that, of course, if they destabilize CDF, or for that matter, the other house, that then that would give them the opportunity to put their fingers on this tail. In fact, it is the reverse. Mr. Speaker, have you asked yourself why governors, for example, give bursaries to students? If their mandate, their constitutional mandate is about ECD, and the law is ECD, what is this mandate they have that they are exercising to give bursaries? So this is just a confused system. We have to come to order so that monies are concentrated where the Constitution has directed them to be. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kajwang, did you say governors are giving bursary to secondary and university students?
I am shocked, Mr. Speaker, that the bulk, I've never had a governor give ECD, and I'm waiting for governors to be able to give scholarships for the bright children in preparatory 1 and preparatory 2. I'm waiting for that day when a governor will call nursery students to give ECD. The money is paid to secondary students, university students. The other day, somewhere in Eldoret, and the governor, who is now an honorable member of parliament, has never been able to respond to this, that tranches of thousands and thousands of money were paid to some students going abroad. This is a student going to do masters and postgraduate diploma. Why would you want to put public funds to equip a boy who is now going to go into postgraduate training while you are unable to afford schools, primary schools, ECD schools? So I think that governors I do not know what kind of the devil that has walked into our system, but really the devil is working within our system in some way that we are impervious to reason, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kajwang, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the chance. I think I've been sitting here the whole day, and thank you for this chance. I don't come from Bungoma, but I was born in Bungoma. The issues that are raised by the CDF, as I don't know, but I want just to make a few comments here and there on the same. First and foremost, I want to agree with Honorable Kachwang on the governors at giving out bursaries. I know they have particular cases where they give out scholarships. That can be accepted because on a specific issue, for example, maybe one of the students is outstanding in an area, or at least has no parents, so it's an orphan. I've seen governors giving scholarships to go overseas. That's acceptable. But giving out bursaries, I think, is something that is misplaced, and this actually misappropriation of funds for the community. I know cases where they're supposed to be building ECDs, not giving out bursaries. So I think they just want to, and of course the other one I want to talk about is where I saw on the TV, Mr. Speaker, that maybe you saw the same, our colleagues across, the senators, wanting to do away with the CDF. I don't know where that member of parliament, I don't want to mention his name, but I saw it. I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he lives. Maybe somebody who's in Nairobi and doesn't even know what's happening at home. So he wants us that NG-CDF should be abolished. That is out of envy and jealousy, because he knows that maybe his members of parliament are doing so well, and so therefore the only thing he can do is, of course, to undermine him by suggesting that NG-CDF should be abolished. I think it's time for this House, maybe the Speaker of this House, to talk to the Speaker of the next House so that this issue is not even raised anymore. Because how does he talk about that? I saw it personally on the TV, and I know the gentleman, but I think he's a newcomer, so who has nothing to say. Just because he was given a chance to talk in the Senate, he took up and started talking about that kind of thing. Now, the other thing is that, quite true, the issue of NG-CDF dealing with land issue all over the country is an issue, because you may want maybe the community want a school to be put somewhere. Maybe if it's not a school, maybe a chief's the chief's office or assistant chief's office. And so again, it must be very clear. For it to function, you must have what they call the title deed. And most cases in this country, title deeds are an issue. People are not having title deeds. And those who, maybe there are issues, maybe because of the parents passed on and what have you, and that issue is there. And so NG-CDF has been having problems in both in my own area, where you find that the land is there, but very conveniently located, but he cannot do anything on that land because there's no title deed for the same. So the same thing is happening maybe in Bungoma, where I was born, but I don't live there. That issue is there. Then, of course, the other thing that we should actually tell people is that the capacity building, that should be an ongoing cases, because we have cases where the officers in that NG-CDF are not properly trained. And so the issues actually, maybe even bookkeeping is not very good for them and what have you, and reports, what have you, supposed to go to headquarters, they can't make those kind of reports. So we need to have NG-CDF having regular training and exposure in all the areas. Maybe we take a region, Rift Valley or whatever, or whatever region it is, we can have then NG-CDF training some of these people so they can be able to understand the importance of actually running the NG-CDF. Otherwise, the CDF actually is the best way of looking at the development in the area. And I think myself, for example, I think I'm where I am because of the work being done in my constituencies. I think we've done very well because we take care of the bursaries for those who are not able. And I don't just give out bursaries, I do what they call vetting, where we vet those who actually deserve. Because there are those who actually don't deserve, but they also want us bursaries. We do that, and we give them very regularly. The only problem, as mentioned by somebody, is the delay in disbursement of the CDF funds. I think that's again, as a parliament, you should be able to tell that as a CDF board to be able to be giving out the money on time, because that is the biggest problem. You have an issue, you have got a project, but you cannot take off, or you have actually engaged a contractor on building some structures, second school, whatever, but it takes such a long time for the money to come on time. So that again is something that must be corrected so that we can be able to go forward and be able to complete some of the projects in time. Otherwise, I want to take this opportunity to say, please, let's be serious about NG-CDF, and anybody opposing that, then he does not know where we are. I support this particular motion. Thank you.
The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice to the debate on this important report. The report which has been tabled by the Committee on Special Programs, which is chaired by Honorable Muliungi, the MP Mwingi Central. I want to start by thanking the committee and all the members for this good work. I think this is the second report we are debating from this committee. And this report is specifically for constituencies in Bungoma County, Honorable Speaker. I think, Honorable Speaker, this approach of looking at one county and all the constituencies in that county in terms of looking at how CDF has been spent is a very good approach, because neighboring constituencies have a lot of things to share. When I listened to this report, Honorable Speaker, I've just been trying to think through what happened in the Senate about 2 weeks ago when they were debating NG-CDF, the National Government Constituency Development Fund. And as I watched the senators discuss this matter, Honorable Speaker, I saw a lot of ignorance in terms of what CDF does in different parts of this country. And I could see people who are debating from a position of lack of information. Honorable Speaker, we have amended the CDF, the original CDF Act, many times. And we've even amended the National Government CDF Act about 3 times now. And one of the things which has happened to this Act, Honorable Speaker, is that the Member of Parliament initially used to be a patron of that, the NG-CDF. And at that, there was a provision for what we used to call an oversight committee, where the MP was the chair and he was expected to nominate other 4 members, so that the oversight the CDF implementation. But the latest amendment, Honorable Speaker, we did away with that oversight committee. So as we are talking now, a member of parliament is just oversight CDF, just as he does with all the other national government projects. And I think this committee of special programs, should be able to bring these matters out clear, so that those Kenyans who are ignorant are not able to get the information from the latest amendment, can understand what is happening. So when it comes to CDF matters, Honorable Speaker, it is a board which oversees implementation on day-to-day basis. And the only time a member of parliament comes in is when you are doing public participation to identify the projects and programs to be implemented. On that basis then, after public participation, the board takes over the implementation. The member of parliament now becomes a person who oversights the implementation. And it's on the basis of that that anybody who wants to associate a member of parliament fully with the CDF is a person who is misinformed. And I want to urge our colleagues in the Senate to take time and look at this act so that they are updated in terms of how CDF is structured. But listen to the report, Honorable Speaker. About 3 things have come up in the recommendations. One of them is a matter of land, where we are saying the committee went out there and was not able to get title deeds for some of the land where some of these projects have been located. And I want to really urge my colleagues in this committee, the truth of the matter is in this country, some areas have no title deeds. Land has not been titled, the title deeds have not been given to the landowners. And what people are doing is, people would know that this is my land, and they are watching now for issues of land surveying and all that to be done so that they can get their titles. In such a situation, what is happening? What normally happens is you will come to me as a landowner and we'll do an agreement in the presence of their local assistant chief so that he's satisfied that that land has been set aside for public utilities. And it is on the basis of that then I will be able to locate a school, an assistant chief's office there, and any other project we are doing. So in a situation where documentation has been done and is filed, I think as a committee, you should be able to appreciate the fact that land title deeds are not all over the country. So in that case, even as you say, you are not able to find the title deeds for the land, it would be important to tell us whether you are able to get any other documentation to confirm that that is public land. I think that is critical. And like where I come from, my area, that's what we have been doing, that we will ask the owner of the land to sign documents in the presence of the assistant chief, so that even as we process the title deeds, we don't delay implementation of projects which have been identified by the public members, by the members of the public. The other point which has come up with the issue of documentation, where you are saying you go there and you find that there is no accounting document to support the expenditure. And I think this recommendation was also part of the other recommendation, the other report, where you are saying as you travel and visit different constituencies, you realize that fund managers are not able to present you with the required accounting documents. And I think really, to me, the way I look at it, this could be a very deliberate move, Honorable Bribery, and I want to thank you for the moving, because you know we belong to the same party. You have moved this report very well. So what I want to say is, this could be a very deliberate move, because most of our fund managers, honorable members, are people who have a background in terms of professional background, either an accountant or economists. And actually, one of the basic criteria for recruitment is that you are able to prepare books of accounts. The other thing, CDF does not operate a separate, what do we call this book where you record expenditure? Is it cash book? They don't operate a different book. What happens is there's a district accountant who is posted there by the Ministry of Treasury to oversee accounting works. On that basis, Honorable Bribery, I will not believe when you say that people are not able to provide accounting documents because they don't have what it takes in terms of capacity. I would want to agree with you that they are not able to provide those documents because they are doing it deliberately so that they cover some of their wrong moves in terms of financial accountability. And to me, that's why we would want to see a more stronger recommendation saying that in situations where people have not been able to account for such a money, then you either hand those people to the Auditor General for further investigation, or either to the DCI for further investigation. So that in that case, then, we hold these fund managers accountable for purposes of implementation of our projects. And we have to bear this in mind. It's important I say this, Honorable Speaker. Most of these fund managers are not locals. They don't come from that constituency. And most of them don't come from that county. So in a situation where you want them to misuse the money, you'll be taking away money from a specific constituency to another different constituency. So in that case, we lose big as members of parliament, because if a fund manager misappropriates resources, more likely those resources will be invested in another different constituency and not where the person is working. So even as we oversight this money, it is important to realize that we love our fund managers, but they must do their work professionally. To me, this is a very important point, that we don't lose it. In that case, then we'll be able to streamline this process. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say this. Before I came to this parliament, I was a monitoring and evaluation specialist I've prepared a lot of monitoring frameworks. I've done a lot of evaluations, and I've done a lot of impact assessment of programs. I want to confirm to this country today that there is no other program in this country which is more impactful to the lives of our Kenyans more than NG-CDF. I want to say that as a provision in that line, that this program has had very positive impact to our people, and anybody who thinks you can do away with the CDF, you might aid the member of parliament, you might aid the person overseeing the money, but if you aid the member of parliament, please take the member of parliament out, but let's have NG-CDF continuing in this country because it has very serious positive impact to the lives of our people. And I always say, Honorable Speaker, I'm sure you're overseeing a constituency like me, and we joined this parliament the same day with you. If you look at what you have been able to do in the last 10 years with your 50 million every year in Oman Bay Town, Honorable Speaker, and compare it with what the governors have done over the last 10 years with their billions, it will be clear that what you have done has a high impact, has really helped your people, and it is visible as compared to what some of these county allocations are doing. So to me, I would be supporting a proposal that says, can we increase the money so that, because this money is having impact, so that we help our people more and more. And in that case, we'll be helping this country and we'll be growing the local economies where this money is being utilized. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this report and say this is time we even increase the allocation for CDF so that our people get value for money and mostly public resources. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Julius Meli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this report. And Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I want to thank the committee for coming out with such an informative, very informative, very detailed, and a report with a lot of details, especially on public projects. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General's Office is a very important government office that tries a lot. And I think this is very important for this House and for the country to know that. That office is for the good of the public. That the money that has been allocated to a public entity shall be made to good use. That the resources that have been allocated to schools, to colleges, to universities, and even to hospitals are actually brought to good use. Honorable Speaker, each and every other time when an audit report is read, at times officers do not take it in good faith. It is a very important document. It is a document that tries to educate and tries to bring the public to know how their resources have been used. This report on NG-CDF, which affected the constituencies in Bungoma County, actually resonates across the country, especially on certain issues. That one, CDF or NG-CDF, as it was renamed, is a resource that has enabled government funds to reach the remotest parts of this country. It is a fund that has a very clear structure on how it is being managed. CDF has seen constituencies build several schools, several projects, police stations, and even earlier on, before devolution, constructed dispensaries. Mr. Speaker, before the founding of the NG-CDF fund, government resources were actually not being felt in the local areas. Today, you can be able to see a classroom, you can be able to see a toilet, you can be able to see a police post, and I can enumerate a number of them as a result of NG-CDF. The structures that have been placed in NG-CDF are actually structures that are not expensive. This is an example of a devolved fund that is working. Today we can see billions of shillings have been devolved in counties. But because of the nature of the county government structure and how it works. The county government structure is very expensive, but the CDF structure is very lean. It has about 5 or 6 employees. It has an NG-CDF committee led by the chair, and every other time they sit depending on an allowance, which is less than 2% of the total cost of the resource fund that has been allocated to that particular constituency. In effect, Mr. Speaker, the NG-CDF fund is a fund which is the most visible fund across all constituencies, all counties, and even all sub-counties in Kenya. It is through this fund that we've seen students who are orphans be able to go to school. It is through this fund that we have been able to see a number of football or sporting activities actually running across constituencies. It is in the same fund that it has enabled even institutions which were hitherto then not known even in the country to have been built to become very big national institutions in names of secondary schools, in names of colleges, in names of institutions. I know a number of teacher training colleges. I know even a number of facilities in some of our local universities that have been put up by NG-CDF. So, without enumerating so many, Mr. Speaker, the report that has come to be tabled this afternoon is quite informative and important. On issues that have been raised, for example, the issue of title deeds, I want to agree with Honorable Makali Mulu that many areas in this country have not been adjudicated, have not had titles. But we cannot stop building schools just because those areas do not have title deeds. The greatest expanse of the northern parts of this country, and even some parts of the pastoral regions, land is still under communal. So we cannot just rely on the title deed as the only instrument to show that, yes, you have spent money on land, but the title deed has not been issued. We know of schools that have in existence for over 30 years. They are public institutions, and they are running. Honorable Speaker, on the other issue that is very important, which has also been noted in this report, is that the accounting officers, who is the fund account manager, has to be held responsible. Because there is no fund account manager who cannot prepare audit accounting documents. It cannot be an excuse. It cannot be allowed. And in any case, every expenditure has to be put in, has to be shown that the money was withdrawn or actually was spent on item this or was spent on that particular project. And all the documentation has to be put in place. So I want to allow the Auditor General's office and the committee for pointing out that every fund account manager has to be held responsible for if they do not produce the appropriate accounting documents. And this one, we should not take it. And I want to ask the honorable members that each and every officer has to make sure that these documents are well prepared, well placed, and they should always be presented when required for audit purposes. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, in NG-CDF, and I want to ask members of the Senate to note that there is no competition in terms of popularity. Members of Parliament do not play any role in it. In fact, our role has always been oversight. Our role has always been to make it as successful as possible. The fact that they do not hold or do not have any funds does not warrant them to say this fund needs to be dissolved, this fund needs to be removed, or this fund needs to be discontinued. If it will be discontinued, it will be to the detriment of the Kenyan people. Hundreds of thousands of schools, Mr. Speaker, and I think we've been together in this house for the last over 10 years, have been constructed courtesy of NG-CDF. Every year, I think I can take an example of my constituency where I used to have about 70 primary schools. Today we have over 130 primary schools. I inherited the constituency when we had about 16 secondary schools. Today we have over 40 secondary schools, almost 50 secondary schools, courtesy of NG-CDF. That is not about an individual. It is about the community. It is about what are we doing. Right now there are several police stations that we want to construct. If we are going to rely on the the Ministry of Interior, it will take ages for us to construct police stations. So this particular fund, I want every member of the Republic to know that it is a fund that goes down to the poorest child in the village, to enable them have bursaries, to enable them earlier on to have dispensaries, to enable them have what it takes to reach that particular household. The only thing that we need to do as a house is to really entrench it, make it stronger, make it efficient, make it accountable, so that the officers who are oversighting this fund, including members of parliament, we are ready to be accountable for it. Even the fund accounting officers, they really need to make sure that this fund is above board. And I want to tell you, Honorable Speaker, this is the fund that is going to leave a legacy in this country in terms of devolution. Even it is more effective than what the county governments are doing. It is more effective than even the funds that various governments have tried to take to the rural people. Earlier on, during the Moi administration, we had the district focus for rural development. We've had the various funds like Kenya Women, the WEZO, and all the rest. There is no any other fund that can be equated to NG-CDF in terms of impact, both socially, economically, and even in terms of political impact. And I want to ask the House that as we look at the Auditor General's report, as we look at the committee of the Fund Account Committee's report, let us look on how to make it more entrenched, more constitutionally viable, and to make sure that the laws that we have are actually for the people and to the benefit of the people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, maybe just before you do that, there is the thinking that the role of a member of parliament around CDF is still as chair, patron, and those are the issues. I thought, as the chair of education, you should explain to them our role in oversight. More so now that we are considering an audit report from the Auditor General on CDF fund in respect of constituencies.
In fact, Honorable Speaker,
so take a minute or two.
Yes, one minute, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. And there's a lot of misconception, and I want to tell Kenyans, even as we are in these very difficult political times, Kenyans have tended to believe everything that is on the phone, on the social media, to the detriment of the nation. I want to say this. Members of Parliament have no official role, or even any role in that NG-CDF, other than to be oversight. In fact, Honorable Speaker, in the last regulation that was issued, the Member of Parliament was supposed to be a member of an oversight committee of the NG-CDF. He himself is going to oversight the NG-CDF committee and the fund account manager. In fact, the fund account manager himself and the committee are supposed to identify projects where the public participates. There is public participation in identification of projects. And more so, when you go ahead, you'll realize that the money is deposited in schools' accounts that are held by the school committee members, or what we call project committee members, which is called PMC. So the role of Member of Parliament as a chair, as a patron, as anything, is non-existent. And it has been propagated over time, Honorable Speaker, so that we actually give a bad name. That's why in English they say you give a dog a bad name and then you kill it. In effect, no Member of Parliament is a chair, no Member of Parliament is a patron, no Member of Parliament has any, what do you call it, an official or a role in that particular thing, other than to oversight and to make sure that there is there is a public good, or there is actually value for money in that particular institution. I rise and I support.
Thank you, Honorable Meli. Members, this is a very critical thing because people have been asking whether who audits or oversights CDF. And they end up by saying, if you've been watching what has been happening, that members of parliament are implementing CDF. In the context of this, I've heard even people saying that we should kill CDF, including some members of parliament in the Senate. But without free secondary education, without subsidized university education, this is a platform for you to explain to people your interaction with CDF and how the structures of CDF indeed act. Ultimately, it is for the people of Kenya to decide what they do with the fund. The Honorable John Waluke, followed by the Honorable Peter Masara, in that order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, to have given me a chance also to contribute on this important report. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the good work that they have done. Honorable Speaker, the work of Member of Parliament and the work of CDF, Honorable Speaker, the work of CDF in this country, Honorable Speaker, it is seen all over. It has done a lot of work, Honorable Speaker. The money that CDF or constituencies get is very little money compared to monies that the county government receives in terms of billions. And there's no any one constituency, Honorable Speaker, that has received money even 220 million. But you can see the work, Honorable Speaker, buying the buses for the schools. Like in my constituency, Honorable Speaker, I have managed, since I took over, managed to build 27 primary schools in addition with what I got that time during Honorable Tangula when he was the MP for Sirisia constituency. Honorable Speaker, when you compare, earlier on we used to build dispensaries, and in any constituency or sub-county, Honorable Speaker, there is no dispensary or health center that the government can brag and say that they build. Those are facilities of CDF before it was devolved, Honorable Speaker. And some of them, after they devolved the money, we left them to the county government, and they have never been finished. They're just there. But the money comes to the county government, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the area which the government and auditors should check and audit properly is the monies for the county government. Because it is not seen, we don't know, and we are just adding money to the county governments every time they cry. You see, like last time, Honorable Speaker, 2 years ago, they demanded money for the sports, which we used to do to help our children, to facilitate them to play games. But now, since that money was devolved, Honorable Speaker, there's a very big problem in the counties or in the sub-counties or constituencies, Honorable Speaker. Because these people, their work is to steal money. Honorable Speaker, there's a big impact. And the monies that we get, the money that can be accounted for, the money that has a structure, Honorable Speaker, is the money for NG-CDF. It has a positive impact. Everywhere when you go, you will see a school, you will see administration, either at DO's office or chief's office, and they are permanent structures, Honorable Speaker, that when you go there, you will also be happy that indeed the money for CDF is working. Honorable Speaker, the work of the MP is just only to oversight. We don't have any role, either that you are the chairman of something. No. Honorable Speaker, our work is to oversight. For a very long time, Honorable Speaker, I think the Senate has lost track because their work is to oversight the money for the county government. And they have been taking CDF board to court, wanting to crush, to remove CDF money that Mwananchi can see, that Mwananchi can, the CDF can pay a bursary for the poor children who are suffering or who used to suffer during those days, Honorable Speaker. Even like where I come from, Honorable Speaker, I managed to pay 5,000 fees for 5,000 students, Honorable Speaker. And the county government, with those billions, pays only, can give only 1 million shillings out of 15 billion. You will get that award gets 1 million shillings, Honorable Speaker. To end up the ward, because like in Bungoma we have 45 wards, that will be only 45 million. The money that one constituency pay, because like myself, I've been paying, last time I paid 60 million that I used to pay a bursary, Honorable Speaker, for university students, for secondary students, for TTI, and everything. So, Honorable Speaker, you cannot compare. The Senate should go out to check and see, to oversight the money that go to the county government. This report, the Honorable Speaker, that was brought by the auditors, there are schools that we call them even before we were born in the 60s. And up to now, those schools has no title deeds. So it's not a work of CDF that CDF can chase a school that started in 1960 or 1940 something. It doesn't have a title deed. CDF just came the other day. But this trade of land title deeds, the problem has been there since after independence, Honorable Speaker. But with now, you can get a parent. The school is either has a very small acreage of land, and the demand of the community wants the land to be, the school land to be extended. And Honorable Speaker, you cannot wait that you will get a title deed. If you can imagine, those in the 60s have not received a title deed. And if you'll wait, you'll wait until maybe you die before you build a school. Need and demanded by the community or by parents of that particular school, Honorable Speaker. We build because the population grow every year. The population grow every day. And the demands of schools are there, Honorable Speaker. The demands of administration offices are there. Every year, Honorable Speaker, a chief or, a location or a sub-location or a division is created because of population growing, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, as I thank the committee, Honorable Speaker, the government should put structure on the monies of county government, because this money of CDF, Honorable Speaker, has a structure in place, and you cannot take any money. Mr. Speaker, even if you want to build a school, you cannot just write either a letter or make a phone call to the board and say that I want to build a school. No. There is a way, Honorable Speaker, and this should go to our people who are fighting to remove the NG-CDF. And even the courts, Honorable Speaker, should also consider, because everybody, be it a Chief Justice or whoever, be it their Attorney General, they come from villages and they have seen all this that we are talking about today here in the August House, Honorable Speaker. And they come from the community. And as they go on doing their work, Honorable Speaker, when they go home, they will see that there was no school here, and now I've gone home and I've seen there is a new school that has come up. So we all come from villages, Honorable Speaker, and we need to be honest to our people, maybe who don't understand, and we need to make them understand that the monies that has structures, Honorable Speaker, is the NG-CDF. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Who did I say should follow? The Honorable Masara. Honorable Masara, you want to wait to undertake some business before you contribute. Just hold on a bit. The clerks will be approaching you shortly. The Honorable Catherine Omanyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to actually put a voice on matters to do with CDF or NG-CDF, although I'm a women rep. But being a women rep, I'm also a member or a daughter of the soil in Busia. And as I crisscross the county every day, I witness evidence, a lot of good that has been done with this fund. In fact, people should be talking of adding, not doing away with it. Because there are schools that had never seen a permanent building or a serious building in the compound. Today, if I move across my community and my county, I see story buildings coming up. Permanent buildings that are conducive for our children. Us could have never been or gone to school, or those children who come from the lowest strata of the society. Some of those children could not have gone to school if there was no bursary that is given through this CDF. At the moment in Kenya, we either sink or swim by not or by inciting. Many things are happening and people are not even sensitive enough to the situation at the moment. Because I have been reading in WhatsApp pages about CDF, and people who are talking about this CDF, some of them didn't need it. Most of them are just in these good towns. They don't even understand. Let them leave, those people who have benefited, to give evidence, to give the right case study that actually CDF has put a roof on a child's head because some of these children were learning under a tree. I recently visited also Marsabit, and I was shocked. Some of the things that people take advantage of, some Kenyans do not have. This CDF, if you look into it properly, knowing my country very well where there is tribalism, there is no regional balance, CDF has enabled even that community that no one could have thought of that community, that people even almost forgot that they belong to Kenya. Through their member of parliament, they are represented. So it will actually cut off people who wish that if I am the one in the seat, I will ignore those who didn't vote for me. But with CDF, it is upon the member of parliament that you have sent to represent you, to bring down to everybody. And CDF actually gives priority to projects that Wananchi themselves at the grassroots level have decided that they want to be implemented. So I would rather look into the gaps that are there to see how to make it more palatable to everybody, from grandmothers who are taking care of orphans who actually benefit because their grandchildren are in school. Let us add more to CDF kitty, so all children in Kenya, regardless of their ethnicity, of their background, regardless, all children in Kenya can benefit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Catherine Omanya, the Honorable Peter Masara. To lay the documents first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, 24th, today, Tuesday, 23rd July 2024. Report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the first supplementary estimate for financial year 2024-2025 and the compendium of departmental committee reports on their consideration of the supplementary estimates. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Would you give notice of motion?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to give notice, motion of notice on Speaker, that this House adopt the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the supplementary estimate for financial year.
The Honorable Raphael Wanjala, approach the Speaker. Approach the Speaker. Honorable Wanjala, approach the Speaker. Proceed, Honorable Peter Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, once again, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the supplementary estimate for financial year 2024-2025 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 23rd July 2024, and pursuant to the provision of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and the Standing Order 239, 1, approves a reduction of the current expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 by 38,896,358,312 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule of the report. 2, approves reduction of the total capital expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 by Kenya shillings 107,445,697,478 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule of the report. And 3, approves an overall reduction in the total budget for financial year 2024-2025 by Kenya shillings 146,342,055,790 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule of the report, subject to paragraph 4, Committee of Supply, And then 4, makes the policy and financial resolution as contained in the second schedule to the report. And finally, 5, order that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the budget system with respect to each vote and program in Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240. 240, that is the consideration of supplementary estimate in the Committee of Supply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Masara laid the report. As you do, the Honorable Beatrice Elachi will speak, then you will speak on the motion that was going on. We revert to the motion on NG-CDF.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report of the Auditor General on the National Government Constituency Development Fund for the 9 constituencies in Bungoma County. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, to speak on indeed what we have, many of my colleagues have spoken to, but also to speak on ourselves as members of Parliament. And I think the most critical part as we reflect on ourselves, Mr. Speaker, is to ask ourselves, how have we indeed used our NG-CDFs on the ground? And I know many of Kenyans will come out to support the fund because it has worked. I am a testimony, Mr. Speaker, today. If anyone wants to know that CDF works, you can walk in Dagoretti North and you can see how it has worked. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is for us in this House now to go to the next level. Every Kenyan is crying about education, about our bursary. We need to sit down as a House and look at all of us, and ask ourselves, is there a way we can come up with a better proposal in NG-CDF and ensure all-day schools have free education? All-day secondary schools in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we can do that. Mr. Speaker, today we have